Hey guys, my name is Nia and today I have an extra video from my trip to Singapore. On this particular day, I went with my mom to Marina Bay Sands to see all the three Flora attractions. They were called Flora Fancy, Cloud Forest, and Flower Dome. The day before, my mom and I were deciding whether to go to the zoo or the Flower Dome, but my mom isn't so keen on spending a hot day seeing animals. She's not really into animals and she also much prefers air-conditioned rooms, and I thought, yeah, why not? I've also never been there and I'm also sure that I can take a lot of reference photos to paint anyway. And in the end, we also got lucky because it ended up being a really rainy day and we were inside most of the time. So the first attraction that we went to is the Flora Fancy because this is the closest one, and seeing the flowers from the outside made me really want to go in straight away. The way they combined the different color swatches on the flowers and how they set up the area I thought was really interesting. All the flowers were so well kept and they were very dense, vibrant, and healthy. They had flowers along the walls as well as right above us. Despite of the small size, I think this is probably my favorite compared to all the other domes just because of how they maximize the space and how densely packed the area is with the beautiful flowers and water fountains. I enjoy how they also combined technology, like these cute hanging bowl of flowers. It's like seeing an art installation combined with nature. Because the orchid, I think, is Singapore's national flower, they have so many interesting varieties of orchids that I've never seen before. Some of them were so weirdly shaped and interesting, while others, like this one, is just so pretty. I've never seen pastel colored orchids, and this blue one I thought was really amazing, and I thought it was even fake at first. I also saw a bunch of beautiful pansies. They were so healthy and the shapes and textures of them were really nice, and this one in particular I thought would look fun to paint. So I will be posting a tutorial on how to paint them this Friday along with a paint with me part 2 of the pansy with a different composition the week after. There are 3 sections to this area, the first one being the area where there were the flowers and installations, and as we move further along there's a small water fountain area where they've set the water to create patterns. I thought this was fun to look at and also listen to the water flowing. That area was only a small section, so I quickly moved to the next area where we were greeted by a small glass display area of tiny and colorful poisonous frogs. It was really hard to film them though because the glass were very foggy and covered in dew. As you move further along, they also have a dark area where they designed it to be more like a cave with lights running along the top of the ceiling. In this area, they have more tropical plants like ferns and moss around, but due to the lack of colors, I'm not really that into it actually, even though I do really enjoy looking at different textures of the moss. The next attraction that I went to is the Flower Dome, and here I found such a nice array of succulents and cactus, ranging from very tiny to very large ones, and they also arranged them very nicely. The theme of this succulent area is Alice in the Wonderland, hence the really big mushrooms. This attraction is basically inside of a very large glass dome, which is more like a very big greenhouse. I found that this place itself is quite amazing and large, but I think during that time they were also setting up for new seasonal flowers, so there are a few places which were closed off. The dome is very big and open, and the high dome ceiling makes you forget that you're even indoors most of the time, even though it was raining outside. Here's the cacti section of the flower dome. Even though I much prefer succulents more than cacti because they're not prickly, I really love seeing the different range of cacti. Some of them were so large and they even have weird patterns that I've never seen before on cacti. It was really intriguing to see all the different textures. Because the place itself was so big, the flowers are not as densely packed as the Flora Fancy though. I would even say that there were more greeneries than flowers, but I still enjoyed walking around the area either way, and I did come across some interesting flowers like these ones here, which I think was in the old Disney Fantasia Nutcracker suite for the walls of the flowers. I don't know what they're called, so if any of you do know the names of those flowers, please let me know. There's a huge chance that I will also be turning it into a tutorial some other time. Anyway, I'll just show you around the things that I saw, or at least the things that caught my attention, and hopefully the footage can do it justice. The next and final attraction is the cloud forest. The main feature of this dome is the very tall waterfall, which is enveloped by multiple types of tropical greeneries and wildflowers. The sight was very impressive and we were greeted by it the moment we stepped in. This area is also fully air conditioned, and with the rain outside and the mist from droplets splashed by the waterfall, the entrance was actually quite cold, but as we moved further along, the temperature I think got a little bit better. The area of the cloud forest is quite small, but it's taller than the flower dome. There's also a small area surrounding the main waterfall which has wild tropical plants including different types of orchids, again because it's their national flower. At this point you could enter an elevator and go up straight away, but I decided to go around the surrounding area of the waterfall first, and we passed an area where there's this water pond which has different types of carnivorous plants, and I really like this area. I think the layout is really interesting, and I also love the hanging terrariums that were hung on the tree branches. As we move further along, we just basically follow the route which took us up to the elevator to the highest part of the waterfall, and we move slowly down, going across really high bridges, and you get to see the view down from different angles of where the bridge is placed around the waterfall. Basically, we just follow the path that has been set for us, and as we slowly reach down, they have a floor of stalagmites and stalactites, but I'm not really into that sort of stuff unless it's in a real cave, so I just took a quick peek around and went back to go down to the bottom floor. And that was pretty much it for the cloud forest. It was still raining by the time we finished, so we had to look around to find the ride to go back to Marina Bay Sands Mall. As an extra footage, I decided to also include the time I spent at the Jewel. Our flight was late at night whilst we needed to check out from the hotel in the morning, so we decided to check in early at the airport and leave our luggage there. Then we continued on and spent our time at the Jewel, which is a new mall that is connected to the airport. We've never been there before prior to this trip, so with the time I had, I went to all of the floors to check out the different views of the famous giant waterfall that goes through from the top to bottom level. It was enclosed in a dome like the flower dome or the cloud forest with the greenery surrounding it. I thought I was also lucky to capture a little bit of a rainbow that was created from the water droplets from the waterfall. I think it was really creative how they've set it all up, and they have restaurants surrounding that area too, so you can sit down and eat or have coffee with a great view even though you're indoors. I had lunch there and it was very enjoyable. We sat close to the waterfall. They also have other attractions surrounding the waterfall, like a glass bridge that goes across it. There's also a small garden and a net area at the top level, which looks quite fun, but you had to pay to get in, and I didn't want to spend any more money at this point, so I just filmed from the side. I also went down to the lower floors where they separated the water with glass, but I still love the pattern the water creates, and even though it's not surrounded by lush greeneries, that part of the waterfall still looks photogenic. It's as if you're right against the water. I then had dinner after walking around the mall, and then before we went back to the airport, we looked at the waterfall again one more time because at night the whole area is lit up with colorful lights, but it changes very slowly, so I had to speed it up a lot. And then after, we headed back to the airport to catch our flight back. And that wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching till the end, and I'll see you at the next one where I will be painting the pansies from earlier. Bye!